Welcome. Hope you're having a terrific day. I see you, AI. I see what you got going on, trying to distract me from kicking off today's episode. At least that's my excuse regarding a cover image for today's episode that frankly don't make sense, but it's okay. I had to stop messing and speaking absurdities to this robot essentially and get on with the message for the day. So let me explain that here in just a minute. At least try to make sense of what we were trying to create regarding this image. Oh, let's verify this stream. It looks as though we're good. Folks, let's not mess around. Welcome to a muzzle chat. Ooh, that's intense. All right, so the image was supposed to portray a child playing in the street with a big truck speeding towards the child. So the message was essentially imminent danger. But AI couldn't put the idea of a child being in danger. But I wanted to pose that there is a choice in a situation like that we have each and every day to effectively protect our little ones. And as I look around, frankly, we like to put ourselves in the heroic seat and imagine as though we would put our lives on the line for our children. But day after day, folks, we are falling freaking short in fulfilling just that. So I wanted a strong man figure being distracted on his phone, also in that imminent danger, because people aren't necessarily acknowledging the wartime we live in and all the threats it in fact poses, not to just the child, but they themselves. I wanted another strong figure actually leaping out of the way to protect himself, paying no mind to the child. And then I wanted a more frail individual leaping out, risking life and limb on behalf of the child. And I didn't want imminent danger type of verbiage. Choose. The choice is yours. What would you do? To pose thought. At least that was what I was trying to capture today. And go for. I thought, and this is a disgusting realization, I thought is a Christian nation, the hard line, the red line that we would not tolerate, is how evil has been directly coming for our children. And from every angle, it has been able to amass any level of momentum and for some time. From propaganda, grooming, indoctrination, education systems, downright pornography, internet, the grooming through services such as Netflix. How many shows, even cartoons, do you see your children getting in tune with it? At first, it looks all innocent. It looks so great. And it's not until season 2, 3, 4, 5, they start integrating same-sex attraction, lust, perversion, language, gore, all the things. They lure you in, they get you hooked on these lovable characters, certain storylines, all the different ways. And at that point, it's like, I want to see this through. Paying no mind truly is to the impact it's having to our children, stealing their innocence. I'm fed up with it. What is up with us? Why are we fearful to speak the truth on these matters? Come what may. That is picking up the cross. And anyway, so this is where I'm kind of having a realization. My goodness. The Sound of Freedom came out. There are these huge connections to CPS being the largest child trafficking ring in the world. And it's connected to, yes, the darkest of the dark. The sex rings, the underground, everything. The exposure and momentum the Underground Railroad was connecting. All the other pedophilic things that were coming out with P. Diddy, the music industry, Hollywood, politicians, Epstein, all the connections, former presidents, current president and its ties. And there's nothing innocent. You would not befriend a pedophile, a known one, for over 14 years in your life without being implicated and having pedophilic ties yourself. You are implicated. The excuse for Donald J. Trump is non-existent with this cover-up, with trying to polarize it in this illusion of left versus right. Democrat hoax? No, President Trump, you are a hoax. We see past this. This is a joke. It's actually not a joke. But I digress. For whatever reason, we as a people are allowing this red line to be trampled upon time and time again. And we're not being open and really speaking out honestly as to where we done messed up. We allowed gay marriage. We went against all the biblical ties. It doesn't stop there. It goes all the way to the extreme of pedophilia and them coming after our children. They blatantly said it in their pride gatherings, their devil worship gatherings. We are coming after your children repeatedly, time and time again, to where our own tax dollars are even paying for our children to be sexually mutilated with drugs that have been deemed illegal for even criminals in prisons. Yes, Lupron, for example, has been deemed inhumane for people with life sentences because we could sterilize them and eliminate the potential of reproduction happening for those that aren't supposed to. But we legalize it and pay for it for our children. So we done messed up. We could right those wrongs collectively. They played us in the sense, and this wasn't even organic, it was orchestrated, and you could follow the funding behind it. And they preyed on our weakness of freedom, of love, in a sense, and were misguided to live and let live. No, it was never that way. As Charlie Kirk would talk about this, we would take that stance of live and let live, and they would more so come back with live and let us rule, because it was rules for thee and not for me. And this went all the way into men winning women pageants, men trampling on women in sports across the board, from our schools all the way to our professional sports. It's gone into gender neutral bathrooms where men 100% have been preying on women. Oh, God, I'm clicking the wrong buttons. This is what has me up all in a tizzy. Right here, folks. I like Noah's Ark posing the question, what's the solution to this problem? There's nothing picture perfect about this. This is utterly disgusting. It's vile. I don't understand. It's how evil has gone after God's beautiful natural things and tainted it and perverted it. I look at this and I see it for what it is. It's vile. It's disgusting. People could call me whatever they want. Gay phobia or whatever. Yes, I am utterly disgusted with unnatural and the insanity of this. The fact of the matter is, it's the problem's been the normalization. Because anyway, we'll get into it. But right here, gay couple that portrayed the perfect family gets 100 years in prison for raping their adopted sons. See how it never stopped there? We allowed the gay in the marriage, live and let live. They abduct children. We should have never allowed, because this was the problem. That was normalizing it, where before even nature would fight against it because it wasn't generational. It would die off. The gays couldn't reproduce. So it would always stay an insignificant, minuscule number of a populace. That frankly, if we actually addressed the issue and said, hey, this isn't normal, what is causing this? And we looked into the parasites, we went into some of the genetics, or we could rule it out of our society and be a non-issue entirely. But we've embraced evil, sin, sodomy. The very reasons God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. And I believe it even went further than that, because it's a live and let live. And once it becomes so tyrannical, now we don't even live and have the chance as God's children to live in a sense of freedom and agency as his design. So I'm livid, because we are failing not just ourselves, but our children. And this is where I shift it. And it's unbelievable. We like to portray that as Christians as the hard line, as though we men and women will not tolerate and will do whatever it takes. But it's a hollow projection. It's not the reality we live and absorb, because the fact of the matter is it would be addressed, and innocence wouldn't be preyed upon to this magnitude across the board. We'd be addressing these pedophile rings. How is the sound of freedom not enough for us to set down our lives and address this threat? America is the leading. There's more money behind that whole is exposing the sound of freedom. Bigger than the drug trade, because a child could be sold multiple times a day, where a drug gets sold a singular time. Way bigger. So I'm kind of come to the realization that isn't the hard line for us. That we've been deteriorated to a point. We like to project, but the hard truth of it, it's not hitting home enough. We become too self-absorbed, too selfish, frankly, to care about the innocence of our own children. Generally speaking. Otherwise, we would address these things. We would walk it back, no matter what it took. We would strip this insanity, which it is. I don't care how insensitive. No, the insensitive is essentially furthering someone's delusional, destructive level of personal think. Then racking our brains and rallying around them and finding the dang cure. I view this illness, this disease, is just that. No different than freaking cancer itself. And we've been feeding the cancer versus properly addressing it. So, frankly, we're not even addressing the personal attack. So anyway, it's interesting. Versus focusing on all these other things, I'm trying to hone in on now some of the most important aspects, because if we're not going to show up, and it is a hollow projection on behalf of our own children, well, let's personalize it And if people frankly don't care about their own well-being and their own health, and with the continuing of diminishing, then we won't even have the ability to address these type of threats. It just makes me sick. But let's go ahead and dissect this a little further. What is, you suppose, the solution to this problem? I pose laughing this type of think out of our society. Fact is, there are no lines that could be drawn once you normalize such a destructive type of think. It always leads to vile sin, pedo behavior, and it's not to be tolerated, period. Fact is, nature has a way and has always had a way of dealing with this level of toxic think. It never lasted more than its generation itself. Think about it. Gay cannot reproduce. So it naturally would stay in its insignificant number unless it's normalized and peddled to poison a people, which it has been. There's nothing natural, as much as they want to claim organic growth and this and that. No, nothing natural about it. It's been peddled. And it drives me nuts. A close friend of mine posed some additional thoughts. I believe we're not even keeping up with the methods of old, where evil has been getting our children younger and younger, and there's new tactics at play where it's even rendering. So exposing this, it's kind of worthless to an extent. However, to absorb the level of corruption in this tactic that is more so formally being used, do I still, yes, believe it is effectively being used right now. So it is important, but it's the length evil is willing to go, which is important, and we should be questioning and thinking about how, more than projecting, how do we protect our children, the reality of like fulfilling it to its fullness. Anyway, she posed a question regarding this third-party photography group that is being hired out by over 50,000 of our schools, a third-party group that sold in the late 2000s for over $800 million by a BlackRock-owned company. Tells us a lot. So I'm gonna play that here in just a second. Just we really haven't even done the depth regarding to protecting our children, even in regards to public schools. So I don't know. Viewing stuff like that really shakes me to my core, and it's like, how did we not see this all these years ago? But to a post like this, Jess really dropped some powerful message. The rage felt from seeing this should spark more than just a moment when you read it. It should reverberate in everything you stand for. That is, if you have a backbone. She states, I know a Muzzle Chat is with me, and that's fantastic, 100%. But who else is with me to stand up and speak out to save our children, ? Where are the strong men of our society? Why are women more prone to actually take this threat against our children serious? The strongest of us? What? It's either we don't view it as important, insignificant, or we're pumped full of fear. We don't want to be inconvenienced in what it means to stand up against this toxic gay culture, this disease. Fantastic, Jess. That's amazing. We need more warriors like that. Now, if you haven't connected any of these dots, Life Touch is now the largest. That got bought out by Apollo for billions. Largest and most trusted family and school photography company in the country. It's not surprising that the claim of ownership ends with BlackRock. It always does. Unbelievable. Just hear this for yourself. Are you informed?
Why does every American school let a random company walk in and photograph every single kid, year after year, like clockwork? Why is it normalized that a third-party corporation collects a high-resolution image of every child in the country? They claim it's harmless. But look into who owns them. Follow the money, and you land in the same place. BlackRock, Vanguard, the silent architects with stakes in defense, surveillance, and data firms. Why do these financial giants want the largest photo database of American children? Facial recognition needs training data. Massive data sets. The younger the better to track identity over time. What better supply chain than schools? A captive population. Full compliance. If the goal was just prints, the industry wouldn't be consolidated under the same umbrellas that shape governments.
Exactly.
The same firms investing in predictive policing and biometric identification. Why does every
It's not
hand over
coincidence.
the face of every child to the forces that shape the world from the shadows?
Very good questions.
Why
Do we even have a hard line anymore? If it's not for our children, if it's not for our own health, if it's not for our freedoms as they're being trampled upon, and more so by this administration, more heavily than any others, all the executive orders, even threatening our First Amendment due to anti-Semitism. What a load of, are you kidding me? Not to be infringed upon. There's never a fully awake. If you are fully awake in this life and you get the full design biblically, you understand God and to an extent of Enoch and the couple select individuals biblically that are touched on that didn't experience mortal death because they just are, what's the word? But they're exalted. You're here. If you could hear my voice, you haven't been exalted. You haven't figured it out. There is a level of awakening forever until that day comes. You're exalted. So no one can even the delusional think of being fully awake is hindering us from continuously awakening ourselves. We used a lot when I was even wrapped up in the right versus left. When I had hopes, high hopes for this administration, third time voting coming in, that I was awakened to a certain level, right? And we would pose that type of verbiage to just wake up. And it's a continuous process. Even in it just feels in the scheme of things, that's essentially yesterday. It's been like 10 months. I mean, we must learn to value to eat humble pie. So, is there even a threshold? Is there even a precipice that would lead us, shocking us enough to putting the proper priorities in order in our own lives? Because I'm telling you, frankly, our lists are out of whack when the war spectrum on the daily, what we can organize and fight against and seize this moment in time, for frick's sakes, I'm so disgusted seeing this. Raping their adopted sons. We're going to come back. I'm trying not to skip through too much. But this is beautiful because it actually got me in the Bible. These are the words of King Jesus. It's time to fully submit to his teachings. It's time for our enemies to fear the Lord. Christ is king. Now, when I looked this up in Luke 19:27, I read basically the whole chapter, and Jesus was speaking in a parable. So in a way, this is out of context, but yet again, what was the true essence of the meaning in Jesus sharing this parable? So nonetheless, this did come from Jesus's mouth, but standing alone on its own, could be, in a way, in my eyes, taken out of context. But he said it nonetheless, and there's power to it. But those enemies of mine who did not want me to be king over them, bring them here and kill them in front of me. And that is stated in Luke 19:27. Now again, it was used in a parable. I can't help but to feel that the United States of America and frick borders, our Canadian brothers, our Australian brothers and sisters, I mean, anyone essentially even seeking wisdom from this here book, I can't help but to think in our time that to view our land, to any one of you, the land you're standing on, as Jerusalem. And this just, I can't help but to feel there's just importance to this read right here where Jesus weeps over Jerusalem. So this is Luke 19:41. But as he came closer to Jerusalem and saw the city ahead, he began to weep. How I wish today that you, of all people, would understand the way to peace. It's not through any of the think that we've been programmed, spoon-fed, indoctrinated. It's all fake. Right versus left. Trump coming to save the day. This administration. Are you kidding me? It's as collective as a people is God's children. I know he is weeping. How he wishes that all of us would understand the way to peace. He continues, but now it is too late, and peace is hidden from your eyes. Before long, your enemies will build ramparts against your walls and encircle you and close in on you from every side. They will crush you into the ground, and you and your children with you. Your enemies will not leave a single stone in place, because you did not recognize it when God visited you. We're already infiltrated as a country. We can see it playing out. Definition of treason. In this case, in America, is an American, any American, serving foreign interest. Treasonous. Why is this administration welcoming in Netanyahu for the 5th time in 10 months? Treason. It's America only at this point. We got to address the threats within our own walls. It's even bigger than that. There's other tactics and methods, the evil. It's interesting. It's like we like to project as though we believe, but we're not absorbing all the lessons. I wish I wasn't so diminished as a mortal with bioweapons and falling prey to the diminished state. We're not immune to this. It's becoming harder and harder to even absorb, to commit your life, really absorb all the lessons, apply it, articulate it, bring people in. For frick's sakes, we just are given this moment in time in this life. Why are we so selfishly seeking the American dream, the white picket fence, things of that nature, where we are effectively being squeezed? We don't even understand what freedom is anymore. One of the greatest examples I like and tell me if there's a better one, is reflecting on those that not just founded but built this, reestablished this country, that fled tyranny, oppressors, monarchs. They understood it. So when they were building out and they had the just slight taste of freedom here on this land, what did they do regarding a 2% T-tax? Heck no. Founding fathers in and of themselves couldn't have done anything. It was everyone in unison that tasted that freedom, that wanted that freedom, and understood oppressive measures. Absolutely not. Income tax alone. I'm no math major, but the math ain't mathin'. That's far greater than 2%. All the different layers. So we've lost what it even understands to be a free people. We don't even know what it would take. Like But what about the infrastructure? We should clear out the slate, bring the transparency full-fledged, and minimize the government. In doing so, we gotta clear the slate, folks. And we can bring to the table what measures are necessary to fund proper protections in the bare minimum that they're not even fulfilling themselves, because it's all frankly occupied, controlled against us, not for us. Anyway, I digress. I am feeling my own limitations. Now, a lot of it has to do with the continuous attacks on all of us. Oh man, let's come back to this one. I'll throw it in the end. Why not? Very powerful what we're up against. But I believe I even had these clips queued up on yesterday's episode. For whatever reason, my rants clicking around, I don't believe I got to them. Whether I did or didn't, let's play it. Tens of thousands of studies, folks. When I mentioned that, I wasn't mincing words. I wasn't making stuff up. I wasn't embellishing. I have the utmost respect and value to being impeccably honest. I do not, and if you catch me, I do not want to embellish on anything. That is stepping outside of truth. That is demonic in nature. I want to keep it within the realm of being impeccably honest. I'm livid. I'm livid with myself and my limitations I'm feeling now in even articulating things. If anything, and I'm making sense of anything, just speak out, not walk in fear.
I just won a big suit against FCC. In the Court of Appeals for lying to the public about cell phone radiation, about the cell phone safety. And see, FCC now has to go back and redo all of its regulations on your cell phone.
What is it?
Cell phone. If you got a kid, don't ever let him put his cell phone near his head, and don't let him carry it in one of his front pockets.
He's not just saying this. There are tens of thousands of studies that prove how damning it is. We had earlier warnings of this dating way back, associating cell phones to the head, tumors, cancers in the brain, in the jaw, in the neck. How is it as though we're walking around with amnesia? So if not waking up for the children and addressing the lack of freedoms and the attack on our freedoms, this is an attack on you. Your children. We got to personalize it. This is what's hindering us from even seeing things clearly, acknowledging the warfare that is taking place around us, to where we can even, because without acknowledgement, how are we going to pick up the cross and follow in Christ's footsteps? We got to acknowledge. Absorb the words. There's so much backing to all this, and futuristically, we're going to go into it, but it's not all just beating the drum of doom and gloom. We're actually building out a webpage. We're going to be bringing some solutions regarding this level of threat right here in the very near future, and I cannot wait to share that with you.
But if it's a girl, don't let them carry the cell phone in their breast pocket. Don't let them carry them anywhere near their ovaries. Right. And the farther the cell phone is from your head,
your body,
when you're talking, the better off you are. So, there's tens, literally, this is not hyperbole when I say tens of thousands of studies that show the really extreme dangers of cell phone radiation, and people are not paying attention. A lot of our kids sleep with the cell phone right next to their heads. They fall asleep with them on the bed. Don't let them do that. Get that cell phone, and if you can get away from them at night so that they get 8 hours without it anywhere near them, that is really important.
It helps. However, I'm grateful he stated those things. Big microphone. It's getting out there. People are absorbing it. Is he to entirely be trusted? Is a singular remedy to this issue? Absolutely not. And the fact of the matter is that threat goes far past just our cell phone. We got to be cognizant of the towers around us, the smart meters on our homes, the Wi-Fi devices, all the other smart. It's better. I know it's a hard pill to swallow. It's better to spend the extra money or the time, whatever it takes, and hardwire everything. At a minimum, you could start to strategically placing them at proper distances where you're really not absorbing these harmful, and they're intentionally made to emit harmful frequencies, and we can prove it. Okay? It's not that complicated. It's not rocket science here. It's very simple. There's some simple data we could go through, and it proves all of it. But there are additional shielding and protections we can put in place. Once again, we will be bringing that solution here very soon to you, so stay tuned. Okay, and this coincides with what they're dumping into the air. Okay, the heavy metals, as the bodies absorb those nanoparticles, we become walking antennas. Those wavelengths are way more damning inside our bodies the more we absorb it. Hence why RFK stated we are going to stop this crime. Okay? It's not contrails. It's not water vapor, an innocent ice crystallization you're seeing when it spans the whole sky. That is intentional. You are being sprayed just like a bug. Okay? Nothing conspiratorial about it. Once again, 36 states have actively taken action to put bans in place, which many of them achieved those bans. And we must even further that, and we have that call to action. But nonetheless, it wouldn't be a crime if it wasn't intentional aerosolization of poisons. But it totally coincides with the frequency. This is another clip I wanted to play yesterday. Let's go ahead and give this a listen. Very powerful information.
Subjected rats to cell phone radiation, like normal cell phone radiation, not 4G, 5G, even a weaker form. They exposed them at 20 times below the legal safety limit, and it caused brain damage and neurodevelopmental issues in these rats. It was causing DNA damage in stem cells.
I can feel it. That is the difference when I'm out here in nature and I go down to where there's a higher just populate. I like how that one doctor talked about it is it's like a sandwich, all the additional layers of wavelengths, right? So when you're down there, I'm surrounded by more towers, more Wi-Fis, more smart meters, and there's a bleed over on all of them. We've never even taken proper measurements of the whole internet of things and done proper studies. There's independent ones on a singular device. And just like vaccine data, they've manipulated the data to say, oh, it's not harmful. But this singular device is proven with the tens of thousands of non-incentivized studies where they are only incentivized to come out and debunk it because we're a trillion-dollar Verizon company and we can't have the masses understand how actual damning it is, right? So there's conflict of interest in those groups, right, to actually produce the truth. So the non-incentivized studies groups that just want to get to the bottom, well, what is the impact? The truth of the matter is the singular device is harmful. You add all that other, that is exactly what I'm attributing to more brain fog, less sleep, more irritability, less resilience. I'm an ornery cuss down there. And I can feel a level because it's not entirely gone out here. And we're still being dumped on in the skies. I have this device here running on Starlink for a little bit, but at least I have the ability to shut it all down, right? And it seems to put me in at least a level of repairing state to keep me from continuously diminishing and deteriorating. But I can feel it even now. I believe the lack of ability to even absorb the level of threat here is the desired intended outcome. So it's essentially that image of the chemtrail sky, or put the cellular tower, put the poisonous food, put the fluoride in your water, whatever image you want. If you don't view this as a threat, well, then it's working. So the intended outcome is that you don't even have the proper life in you to view the actual war tactic and the threat and the magnitude of what is taking place, not just for you, but all your loved ones. If you genuinely care about your loved ones, time to show up for them. The time is right now, because this is continuing day after day. If that isn't enough for you and you're just selfish and well, then focus and be selfish, damn it. Be selfish and protect yourself. Let's finish this up.
So, I mean, it just estimates the
okay, I want to make sure I understand what you just said. 20 times below the legal limit, but you were saying this wasn't even 5G. This was a weaker signal, and it was doing that. So what is the 5G doing? What are the stronger levels doing?
Yeah, the stronger level is absolutely terrible. Every time they test it, every time a study tests the biological effects of 5G, 4G, and they're not funded by big tech and big cellular industry, they always find extremely deleterious biological effects, including oxidative stress, including DNA damage, cancer, neurological injuries, blood abnormalities, right? All these things. So it's not good for any bodily system. Subjected.
How much more do you need, right? Let's play this. This is amazing. This is now tapping into, it brings to mind Dr. Rife and his analog frequency healing that helped with Lyme disease, cancers, and to this day, so much. And now we're in the digital. So the digital, we can even hone in even more on more specific. And the whispers regarding med beds, I'm sitting there racking my brain. Well, what would that include? What type of technology would it take to kind of be a fix-all to all these ailments, right, we're all faced with? I keep coming back to the singular conclusion. It's got to be the wavelengths, but in a healthy aspect. Okay, well, historically, what's some of the evidence of some of these more so healthy? And there's a lot regarding pipe organs, even stained glass windows, magnifying wavelengths. But just give this a listen. This is incredibly powerful stuff. And it's not a bunch of woo-woo. We are energy beings. And evil has understood and how it can ramp up that irritability which makes it harder to be more godly and fulfill and picking up the cross. I can only imagine how frustrating this is to God.
That's why they removed all of the bells, because if anybody ever got sick, they would sit them inside a bell. And when they would then ring that bell, the frequency and vibration would then heal that person inside it. Just like linen sheets and copper bottles, everything is linked to frequency. And that's why the hospitals had the larger bells on, because patients needed to be healed through the frequency. And the larger the bell, the more frequency and vibration emitted. And that's exactly why all of the larger bells have cracks in, because then the bell's resonation is negatively affected and the frequency becomes negative. And so if you then think of the large bells we had, if they were to then hit that bell and resonate it over a town, everybody would instantaneously heal. Because we know that sound frequency heals. And if you think the human body is made up of 70% water, any vibrations and sound frequency will then restructure all of your cells and heal you. And what's interesting is a lot of these bells were also made with copper, which is also interesting because that would then amplify that frequency further. But then the elites, like the Rockefellers, figured this out and then removed it. Because if everyone has a high frequency, nobody will then be sick and therefore dependent on their system, which will then not bring them any profit whatsoever. So standing by bells is very powerful.
It's so much bigger than profit. The intended outcome as they serve the devil, because it's only demonic individuals that could see that out, even for wealth, right? But it's control, it's diminishing, it's entire control over money. Money to them, they're beyond money. That just sounds good to us and resonates with us because they've intentionally squeezed us to a point where we are accepting our slavery. Unbelievable. Okay, talk about, and I add these links down in there. Zero Engineering Watch. Geoengineering.com. I'm combining these two already and talking. Very simple action, folks. Go into your state. This is simple. Protect yourself. This is to put the bans in place regarding spraying over sky. Read these. Just send a letter to your representative. You fill this out. You don't even have to add comments. I recommend you do. Lay out all your frustrations. Personalize it. Send it. Screenshot it. Post it on your profiles. Challenge more to do just this. If you aren't educated and understand the level of poisons and how incredibly alarming and damning this threat is right here, watch this documentary, The Dimming, right here. It opens our eyes. And we, frick Netflix and all the grooming and indoctrination, sit down with your family and have an awesome discussion about this. And if people can't even sit through, it's like, well, all right, well, let's put a pause to the topic at hand. What's going on? Why that reaction? Touch on the intent. Why do you want to go through this information? I don't want to be conspiratorial. I don't want to be adding weight to you. I want to eliminate that weight. Could it be this tactic that's leading to this weak, pansy-ass cowardice position they're in? It's really hard to show up and not be entirely triggering for them. But anyways, I digress. Let's continue on, because the fact of the matter is, it's all fake. We are accepting everything we're getting, and my question is why? And why are we not acknowledging it? Why are we not unifying? Collectively, we hold all the cards. It's not even a game at that point. We hold all the dang cards. Evil in this life understands that. And this is why I can't stand all the soften, beta, soy boy, pastorist messages in these organized religions all around us, not more so focused on the popularity versus the purity in the lessons this Bible is to teach us. Because we wouldn't be sitting back. We would be organizing collectively all the different denominations under one king. And it's not Donald Trump. It's no mortal walking among us, as far as we know. One Savior, one Creator. But this is a huge part of what has led to this, frankly, crappy societal existence we find ourselves in today. And I'm just like, why? It is not patriotic to pay freaking a criminal organization that's using that money to poison your loved ones. Full stop. Serve other countries. Serve this very synagogue of Satan. That is not patriotic. It is patriotic to stand for your freedoms, your rights, your agency.
As we all know, that our U.S. tax system is a voluntary tax system, and we depend on people willing every year to sit down, fill out that form, and pay their appropriate amount of taxes. So I really think enforcement is a reward to those who voluntarily comply. And I think if the public does not see that the IRS is enforcing the laws, we're going to be at risk of losing people continuing to voluntarily comply. As we all know, that our U.S. tax system is a voluntary tax system, and we depend on people.
I should just let it replay for an hour. It's like, I don't know what it is. I try having that discussion with so many people, and I just get the fluoride stare. They don't grasp it. They don't get it. Unbelievable. Yeah, Mr. Beast is directly aligned with the cabal. Shocker. Mr. Beast has announced partnership with none other than the Rockefeller Foundation to reshape philanthropy. You can't make this stuff up. Anyone that has really made it in today's day and age, at a minimum, has been allowed to obtain that position. That's where I believe Charlie Kirk became such a threat, because he was calling for audits of the financials. He realized through TPUSA, he literally was awakening to the realization. I think the best kind of example we could use is none other than the Truman Show. It's all fake. At best, with his charisma, his intelligence, everything, he would have been an Ian Carroll character and built traction on some of these platforms. It was singularly through a billionaire, let's be real, Jewish enterprise and all the funding it supplied to TPUSA to become this mega influence in the world as we know it today. So the audits would have been incredibly telling, because I believe it would have exposed the corrupt individuals that Charlie was closest to in his life. It would have exposed essentially that TPUSA should have been registered under FARA as a foreign influence, political group. It would have exposed so much that they couldn't allow. So when he started questioning things, couldn't have that. But this goes for everything. Like, my gosh, Hollywood, music, political, it's all fake. Just absorb it. Hear this combination of celebrities and idols and their admissions. I don't know what else we need to absorb to really grasp the spiritual warfare that is right there in front of our faces than combinations like this.
I sold my soul to the devil. I know it's a crappy deal. Lisa came with a few toys like a Happy Meal.
what was going on in my life at 15, and that's how I got introduced to the music industry. I swear I wanted to be like the Amy Grant of music. Yeah. But it didn't work out, and so I sold my soul to the devil. Well, needless to say, sold my soul.
Sometimes they don't want to, and they're, Gaga, we can't get, the frequency's weird, and, it's sounding a little bit strange, and I'm like, if you don't get this right now, I swear to Lucifer, I'm gonna, I get a little bit mad.
Why is your hand over your eye?
Because I'm a devil worshiper, what are you talking about?
All right, well, I have tickets to see the devil worshiper.
The whole idea of celebrity and fame has become really convoluted and, kind of bastardized, like whereas fame used to be the byproduct of success, and now it's the ultimate goal. And if your ultimate goal is to be famous, then you're gonna do a lot to get there, like sign your name in blood in a contract with the devil. Like you're gonna end up on a one-way street and it's going nowhere. Like that's just the truth. I've seen so many people like forsake their moral code and their value systems just for a little bit of fame, and it's not worth it at the end of the day. It's really not worth it.
Why do you still do it? Why are you still out here?
Well, it goes back to the destiny thing. I made a bargain with it, a long time ago, and I'm holding up my hand.
What was your bargain?
To get where I am now.
Should I ask who you made the bargain with?
with the chief commander.
On this earth?
And this earth, and then in the world we can't see.
We got so many wounded individuals that have alluded to this. I mean, there's Justin Bieber has covered some of it, Britney Spears, other boy bands. And it's interesting because there's so much of that even ties up, and it's all under the synagogue of Satan, into the pedophilic circles. They get them young. And I'm telling you, when it's the same groups, BlackRock owning that third party independent business, going into our public schools and taking high resolution pictures of our children, that's not coincidental. And it's that third party in over 50,000 of our schools. I believe this is an old method evil has utilized to literally build out the database of essentially in the worst things you could imagine. At a minimum, the shopping brochure for these elite groups. But the thing is, so many, whether it, parents have had enough. So it's now becoming a bigger thing than even the school sector, public school sector, because so many parents, due to the pornography and all these things in the library and the woke and the indoctrination, they're doing the right thing and pulling their kids out of those indoctrination camps and homeschooling. That is a level of protection. However, with the synagogue of Satan rolling out other methods of geofencing and tracking and hacking our devices, that is another means of building out these databases without even using the public school sector at all. So we got to become wise to all of this to even effectively show up. But it's interesting, with even what the Sound of Freedom exposed, I saw just a bleep in time, just like anything else, just like the moment Charlie Kirk was assassinated. A sense of a revival, a sense of uproar, a sense of this or that. But people get lulled right back into the selfishness of self-serving, my life type thing. It's the same moment in time, Sound of Freedom, where it's like, well, if that isn't enough, like, what about our own health? What about our own freedom? What about the land of abundance we could achieve? What about the pleasing, minimizing the weeping of our Lord and Savior as he expressed over Jerusalem? There's so many other things to absorb in this moment of time. What a coincidence. Coincidences, I'm telling you, I'm over it. More often than not, with things of this nature, this is just exposing the level of corruption all around. In 2000, there were 9 countries without Rothschild-owned central banking systems. Iran? Why do we illegally, criminally even bomb them this administration? Totally skipping over Congress. It was a war crime. Infringing on Nuremberg, so many other things. But boom, Iraq, cross that one off the list. Cuba, Syria, Libya, Sudan. Look back. Can you remember our involvement in all of those? Venezuela coming soon. I believe these are more so the driving forces for the synagogue of Satan that make way more sense than the alleged propaganda they're pumping out regarding and excusing more war crimes. It's alleged traffickers of drugs. Alleged. Where's the evidence? Where's the proof? Afghanistan, North Korea. This makes a lot of sense. Yes, he hit the nail on the head. Everything we see playing out in the world trickles down from this singular point, this talking point, when you truly grasp it. Let's just continue on. I'm just going to fire hose some information.
I've never taken money from the Israel lobby. Have you? Taken money from the Israel... From AIPAC.
Defect, DI.
Wow.
They lie to you, DI. You know you cannot win this war. Your rich leaders grow richer while you die in the swamp, DI.
Now, I know we're jumping around a bit, but I just want to expose it's all fake. Let's stop falling for the propaganda and the lies and the devil's deception. Let's jump into the real word. Let's understand it for ourselves. See how the pastors are lulling us into a false sense of worship and lulling us to sleep. Why are we accepting? This says it all even right here. Why is the world accepting something as the major treatment when it has a 97% failure rate? When we really even wrap our minds around this, wow.
Chemotherapeutic drugs are the only classification of drugs that the prescribing doctor gets a direct cut of. So if your doctor prescribes chemotherapy for you, here's how it goes, more or less. The doctor buys it from the pharmaceutical company for $5,000, sells it to the patient for $12,000, insurance pays $9,000, and the doctor pockets the $4,000 difference. And there ought to be a law. The only reason chemotherapy is used is because doctors make money from it. Period. It doesn't work 97% of the time. If Ford Motor Company made an automobile that exploded 97% of the time, would they still be in business? No. This is the tip of the iceberg of the control that the pharmaceutical industry has on us. When women get together and do a 5K run for breast cancer, all of that money, do you think any of that money goes to nutritional research? Do you think any of that money goes to homeopathic research or acupuncture or traditional Chinese medicine or naturopathic research? No. All of it goes to chemotherapy.
Wow. I have my limitations. I invite you to guest here with me. Let's just show up with all our flaws and try to connect the dots. Why are we selling ourselves short in the opportunities? We're just letting them slip through our finger day after day. You don't know what type of true impact you yourself could have. I'm sure there's someone out there that could sit in this seat day after day, more effective than I with my limitations. Let's embolden those individuals to get it going. Vaccines continue to kill children in America. And of course, they also cause autism. Why are we accepting all the unacceptable? Your grandma died alone in the hospital. Your husband was fired over a mandate. Your teenager son has heart problems. You lost your business. You weren't allowed to go to church. Your 2-year-old was forced to wear a mask. But you want to forget the whole thing. No, I will never forget. How are we not absorbing this to the proper depth for us to seek proper remedy? There is no life of normacy without addressing these issues. I don't get how we're lulling ourselves into this destructive think as though what impact are we going to have? You're literally throwing away the opportunity and the purpose for us being born in that time with that level of cowardice excuse. It's interesting. Now, I want to praise my warriors that tune in, that haven't let this go, that share as much as they can daily within their abilities. An ex-Pfizer executive, for example, is now claiming there was no pandemic and says the whole thing was a global push to inject billions. Watch what plays out on this injected individual.
My team will be getting.
She was supposed to be an example and speak out. Oh, hey, how great is this? Everyone follow in my footsteps. Oh, wait. Something's wrong. This injection, what? What's going on?
I'm sorry.
Unbelievable. Come on, folks. It breaks my heart. I have zero trust for those white lab coats. Oh, James, that's a one-off. That's just... Are you... Okay. Okay. Let's play this. One-off. How are we living in denial as though we're not at a wartime? As though bullets... Why does it have to be a bullet? Warfare has changed. I don't get the cognitive disconnect. I cannot... Oh, it's children. I cannot scream about this enough. Because the fact of the matter is, their tactics have now shifted from injectables to the frequency side of it and to the aerosolization, to the poisoning and centralization of all our water sources and all our food sources. And when you try connecting any of this to the biblical spiritual battle, mostly regarding health, boom, this is what you get faced with. Let me get this straight, Elon. X, we can no longer call out evil or Satan himself or his place of worship seriously as hateful conduct. You are literally suppressing and censoring the Holy Bible, Christ's words himself. This action, let's dive into what he censored, what they censored. Your post was detected by our systems and had its visibility limited for violating the X rules specifically. We have determined your post violates our rules against hateful conduct. This is it. I responded to a post, Synagogue of Satan. That's it. Synagogue of Satan. I didn't reference people. I just said that's because it's essentially come from the synagogue of Satan. The fact Christ, yes, said those exact words and referenced it to a select people, I didn't even make. I am struggling neurologically. I could feel it in this moment, and that is infuriating to me because I'm not doing you justice in this moment. But the fact of the matter is, we can't echo chamber Christ's words himself, the Bible, or even speak freely for ourselves with this level of oppressive measures taking place. We are doomed 100%. And why is it they don't want evil exposed? Why is it? That just shows how much control evil has amassed through Elon. He's not a good guy at all. Through this administration, they aren't either. They're literally trying to fulfill the bare minimum to pose as though they're good, to pose as though they care about you. But the truth in the real heavy measures they've been able to get away with, they have a far greater mission than that's just the illusion aspect. They are anti-American. They're anti-God. They're anti-freedom and agency. They're anti our health. Everything else is fake. I'm struggling for words, so please let Mr. William Cooper rest in peace. Another one that was just taken from us. Murdered. Just like Charlie Kirk, folks. How many more can we afford to suffer that fate? All I can say is I'm at least trying to do my part. Showing up with all my flaws. There is extreme blessing to that. I just get the sense that with my neurological issues, with the bioweapon in my body, this just may not be the battlefield that suits my skill set best in this moment. So I'm trying to rack my brain and figure out where can I apply my daily limitation, like just my energy and time to have more positive impact. And I hope you all start waking up kind of with that similar realization, because time truly is of the essence. These war tactics are no joke. Me struggling in this moment is just more conviction and proof to me that our time is running out.
The forces inciting to that which we know as evil are ever present and everywhere. Evil, the old devil and his agents, hell's emissaries, are more numerous than ever before in the history of man, and their wiles are beyond the ken of man. On the other hand, the forces of that which we know as good are God's agents, are likewise ever ready to help those in need and seeking protection. It depends upon man's inclinations which will prevail. It depends upon your free will choice, which you must make. Evil cannot enter when good is installed. Evil cannot enter the Augean stable that has been cleansed and has become a temple wherein God, all good, dwells. If you know Jesus Christ, if you know God, if you understand what I have just communicated on this broadcast, get in touch with your soul, get in touch with God. Have no fear, for we stand upon the edge of a precipice. And it will depend upon those of us who understand what is happening to pull us back from the edge of that precipice and restore the greatest efforts of all mankind. Good night, and God bless you all.
Great message. Absolutely beautiful. I'll leave this link. I believe it's the last one for the day for you to view yourself. If you're not on Rumble, all the links are available on Rumble. YouTube doesn't allow them all. Surprise. Our channel's incredibly suppressed through YouTube. I continuously push the envelope there, and it's just wild. It's wild to see. We are fighting an uphill battle. I'm going to let you go because I'm tripping up over my thoughts, and I'm so mad at myself for being stuck. It's just ask ourselves, where is the precipice? Is there even a hard line anymore? Why haven't we unified over them coming after our children? Why didn't we properly respond to any of the information that has been uncovered through the Underground Railroad or the Sound of Freedom, Epstein cover-up? We could shift it into the slavery through taxation, through the banking cabal, through interest, through debt. That's not enough? Taxation? Come on. Thievery. We're not unifying. We've been brainwashed into thinking it's patriotic to pay income tax. Get out of here. That applies to less than 1% of the populace. Get educated. Check out freedomlawschool.org. We have no affiliation with them, but I love what they're doing. And they're creating momentum where 80 million Americans no longer pay criminal, voluntary, unconstitutional income tax. The fact Trump's trying to address, we're going to be rid of it or whatever, but institute a 30% consumption tax, which would be even more damning and enslave us further than the income tax, even the criminal, illegal, voluntary income tax does to this day. How do people fall for this? I don't get it. But we all got spiritual gifts, so let me leave you with this. I mean, there's a couple other things we could touch on there. But if we won't, on behalf of hard lines as Christians, protect our loved ones and our children, our freedoms, our economy, our fake political system, if we're not going to address all that, well, would we show up to protect ourselves? At the point those guns have been pointed at us, which they literally are, through vaccinations, food, water, air, frequencies, all of that, no joke, diminishing our light each and every day. Well, be selfish. Respond to that. I'm resorting to child think at this point. It's like, if we don't, we get what we get. Congratulations. But we all have spiritual gifts, so do not sell yourself short. You have no idea, and it's even selfless at this point, how God could move mountains through you. We have Matthew 10:20. Oh, that's under soul, spiritual gifts. Romans 12:3-8. God expects us to use our spiritual gifts. If there's an expectation from God, then I do believe there's a level of judgment if we're not meeting that expectation. And I believe we won't get a well done unless we exceed that expectation. Why would we get a well done if we don't do just that? 1 Corinthians 12:4-11, God gives us our spiritual gifts. They're gifts from Him. Ephesians 4:11-13, 11 through 13. Spiritual gifts build up the body of Christ. We must figure out the way to organize and collectively do just that. 1 Thessalonians 5:19 through 22. Spiritual gifts ought not be denied nor overemphasized. Hebrews 2:4. God distributes spiritual gifts according to his will. To seek that humble stance of his will above our own, really tap into his level of think over ours, would lead us to a more fulfilling, meaningful existence. I know there's more we all could do. I pray we do just that and tap into it. Take this life way more serious than we have been. Address all the priorities and how we've, and I'm guilty, I had so many things in this life above reading this combination of books. The best roadmap, I am convinced, that exists in this life. I had other priorities above knowing God, knowing Jesus Christ and the path and example he laid out before us. I need to do better, and I must do better. Whether I can continue here or not, get unmuzzled, get out there, speak truth, fall on your face, get up, get spat on, let's carry our cross, let's fulfill the biblical lessons more so than project and pose. God knows. God knows. What does it matter who we fool in this life? God bless you. Till next time. Take care.